Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Papp here today with my guest Dan Howard, who is the founder of Intentional Resting, which is a revolutionary approach to looking at resting. And I'm so excited to talk with Dan today because I think that resting is really a profound tool that I have used in my life and felt significant benefit from. Using it in times of my life that have felt really challenging, and also just in moments where I felt flustered and shifted to a place of rest. It's been wonderful what I have learned from you, and like I said, I'm just thrilled to talk with you today. So thank you for taking the time and being with me today.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's my pleasure for sure.
So Dan, for people who aren't familiar with you and your work, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you developed intentional resting?
Intentional resting kind of came to me. I've been on a path of discovery and for a long time. Some people get it really fast and it takes me a little longer. So I've been on this path for 30 years.
Yeah.
And kind of, I used to teach workshops on the energetics of the body. And this was back before that was a hot topic, and people would kind of think I was a little bit crazy because of the way I talked about the energies and how they would work with the body. And I used to teach these long workshops and 4 or 5 hours and about the inner workings of how the emotional body and the mental body and all interact with the physical body and all this kind of stuff. It's really complex. And I would look out one night I was looking out over this group of 40 or 50 people, and they just had this blank stare like, I know you said something, but I don't understand what it was. So I stopped in that moment, and after I went, I just reached out to the universe and said, I want something so simple that anybody can get shifts or changes in their lives, something that can effectuate transformation in such a simple way. And over the next 6 months, I would have a few ideas, and it was like, oh, that's cool, but not quite there. It's still too hard. Mm-hmm. And then this came in the middle of the night. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I noticed some areas of my body that were tight. And I just remember saying, I'm going to rest for that part now. And then when I woke up in the morning, I thought, what just happened? It was just like I said. I remember going, that's it right there. And so that gift of the universe came right through me in a resting state, in sleep. And so it shifted how I share it, how I communicate with the world. It shifted how I interact with life, with people, because I used to be a little bit more complex. Mm-hmm. Now it just seems like it's simplified so many aspects of my life. And people say, isn't it too easy to just do that? And I said, no, really, I think that's what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I shared with some friends that I was going to be speaking with you today, and they are not familiar with your work. And I said intentional resting, and they said, doesn't that really mean to just go to sleep? And it's like, I think that a lot of people don't fully grasp what it means to rest, and that sometimes people will even wake up in the morning and not really even feel rested. Mm-hmm. So can you explain to us, what does it mean to approach rest from an intentional place? What does it mean to rest intentionally?
It's shifting the perception. See, most people have the perception of rest as something that you do when you go home. Mm-hmm. I'll do it when I get home from work or whatever, or I'll rest when I get on vacation. And what I'm introducing to the world is that to move through the world in a rested way, intentionally. So if you set your intention, most people set, my intention is manifesting, and that's where intentions are set. I want this type of things to happen. It kind of sets a container as to what they want to manifest and bring to them, which is really powerful. And so within that dynamic, if your intention is to move through the world in a restful way, you start setting the container in this restful state. And then what's kind of cool when you set an intention, or at least with resting, it's like whatever shows up with this intention and this awareness is kind of what wants to be faced into or rested with or looked at. it's kind of like the universe delivers it up to you in a way that to clear, to be with, to not get rid of necessarily, because I don't believe that we try to get rid of anything, but to be with the dynamics of what's happening in our world.
Right. Yeah. So if I'm really new to this and I'm listening to our conversation and I'm thinking, it's hard for me to even know how to relax sometimes, that I'm just feeling really wound up and I don't even know how to relax in my day. How could I even begin to know how to rest? Where would you say that people start?
The first thing is to recognize that you're not able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, this is what the mind does, is the mind tricks us to thinking that we can figure something out. And we've been taught as young kids that if you set your mind to something, you can just figure it out. So the mind gets engaged and just goes down this path like 100 miles an hour trying to figure it out, rather than pausing and saying, what's really going on here? What does rest mean?
Yeah.
So it's shifting your awareness, it's shifting your attention, it's shifting how you perceive or see what's going on. See, I actually wore this shirt. I want to kind of show it to you because this is my new favorite shirt. I just saw it at the store. I had to buy it just like that because this is how I perceive most people going through the world. Tell me if you can see it. Can you see it?
Going nowhere fast.
Yes. So
Yeah.
what happens is that we set our energies.
Yeah.
We think that we're moving fast, and basically we're in these neurological loops of this, the mind trying to figure stuff out, and it's just spinning like crazy, and we think we can figure it out, and we're not getting a whole lot of motion forward. We're getting we consume a lot of energy, being stressed out,
Right.
being conflicted about rest. So it's seeing that you're just kind of in a spin
In the spin.
and kind of going, okay, how can I possibly see this different? How can I be with this different? And the intentional resting, the method really works. It just works. I've been playing with this for 7 or 8 years, and it just works. It just works. It just works.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like first recognizing the spin is almost the initial step to moving in the direction of rest. It's creating that separation of noticing my mind is really spinning right now and I'm even struggling to relax. And I work with a lot of clients and at workshops and talk to people about this belief that we have about working hard. And I think that that's another concept that we have in our culture, that you deserve something because you've worked hard for it. Or if you're going to succeed in life, this happened because you worked really hard. And that then we want to work hard because we want to do well, or we want to succeed in our jobs. And then people, I find with people that leads them to that spinning, racing, constantly moving space.
Exactly.
And I believe that the opposite is actually true, which is what I think that you're talking about, that we can rest into work.
Yeah.
That we can rest into whatever we are doing so that we can do it better.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I do my workshops, I also talk to people about that rest doesn't have to take a huge amount of time either. That we can actually rest into what we're doing right now, and that we can have a resting moment, and that it'll make a shift.
Mm-hmm.
I learned much of that from you. So I wondered, would you be willing to walk us through an exercise that we could do in just a couple of minutes in our day where we could create that little shift into a resting state?
Yeah, the thing about intentional resting is I basically express or explain with people that they can access deep calming rest anywhere, anytime in 30 seconds or less, which is a powerful claim.
Yeah.
I said that to Jack Canfield, writer of Chicken Soup of the Soul. He looked at me and said, "What? Can you really do that?" I said, "Yeah." Okay. So just a short little off the topic. So basically, we set up a call before we even got on the call to actually talk to him. He gave me his email address, and before we could even call, he went on my website and he learned the method. And it takes 5 minutes to learn the method. And the next thing I know, he's teaching it to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Because it's so simple, he taught it to people. So you got to try this in 30 seconds. He said, my shoulder was sore and I accessed rest in 30 seconds. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's there, it's available. And the first thing is the willingness to experience rest. Are you kind of willing to experience rest? And you have to kind of go, no, I have to work really hard. Well, that's a good place to start resting. I want to rest that dynamic.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't willing to, because they've been taught that only if I work really hard, only if I work really hard can I get somewhere. And that actually what happens is that working hard just consumes all your energy. So the more you're able to be calm, be still, the energy amasses and focuses in a new way, and you actually have the energy to move forward in a new direction. And manifest. Otherwise, your energy is just being spun off like crazy. So, do you want me to kind of share the method really quick?
Sure.
Okay. So this is the simple way you can understand intentional resting is to pick an area of your body that might be sore or tired. Okay. And for this exercise, pick one, because many people will go, I have 3 or 4. Just one for this exercise. Do you have one?
Yeah, I can feel some fatigue in my shoulders, a little tightness up in here.
Perfect. So what happens when most people get a tightness in their body or in their shoulders, they'll put on their best willpower and they'll try to get their mind active. They're thinking, like, if I force it, I can make it go away. I can shift it. Because I'm smart. Yeah. So try to get on your best force and engage your willpower and try to make that area of your body relax and be comfortable. And just notice what you notice.
Yeah.
You feel like that tightening?
It feels like it's spreading. It goes from here to here and back around here, all of it.
Those of you who are coming on and watching, if you watch Sarah, when she did that, you could see the tightness of her jaw. See, this is what I'm looking for, these subtle nuances of how the body interacts with itself. And when you tried to force that to go away, your jaw tightened. There was a little bit of lines tightened up here, and your mouth got a little bit pursy like this.
Oh, wow.
So what happens, that means that you engage some willpower, you added stress to that dynamic, and it spreads out. So that's kind of, in real time, I wanted to give people that opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
And then what happens is when that doesn't work, when the forcing doesn't work, most people go into ignoring. So if you just ignore that area of your body, then at some point in time it'll go away. So kind of just pretend it's not bothering you now. Just ignore it.
Yes, just carry on.
Yes, and notice what happens in your body.
It's still there.
It's still there. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And that's how most people do with their life, is they either try to force it or they ignore it thinking something will happen. So let's try something different this time. I want you to just say this phrase, and you can say it out loud or in your mind, whatever you choose to do, and say, I'm resting for my shoulders now. Yeah. Okay. And you just notice what you notice. So you become a noticer of yourself. So what did you notice?
It's almost instantaneous, this dropping, this just letting go. And the interesting thing is that on the first breath, I noticed a little release and then a drop. And then it went from my shoulders. And I wasn't really looking for this initially, but then I just felt a drop in my face and other parts of my body too. That it just expanded. And then as I repeated it, it's like it just more and more and more, just this letting go. Yeah.
Those of you who got to watch that, if you watch her on the first breath and you saw the tightness around the shoulders, and the second breath, you could literally see your that softening that you talked about. You could literally see your shoulders go just like this. So, that much of a move doesn't seem like a lot, but it's huge in relationship to the body. It's like, it's a softening. It's rather than being a contraction, I talk about it, rather than being contracted about or angry that your shoulders are sore and, I wish my shoulders would stop hurting.
Yeah.
Contraction continues the contraction. And when you choose to, first of all, notice it, what you have to notice, I'm sore on my shoulders. And then when you rest for it, there's this, And if you just notice, I want to be clear with everybody. So for you notice this complete drain or a lot of things shifted almost instantaneous. And that happens with some people. I've had some people with fibromyalgia and multiple sclerosis that simply after like that 30 seconds that we did, have no pain in their body. So you can have this wide variety, but what I want to keep people focused on is the softening.
Yeah.
Just the small softening, because if you're in our world, we want supersize it, right? We want something bigger, we want something more powerful, we want more bang for our buck. So we're living in that culture. So people are going, did you feel a softening? Yeah, but I want it to completely go away. Oh, okay. Well, how long have you been doing this pattern? Years? And you think that one time it's going to go away like that? No. It's you re-engage your body in a restful way. If you get the softening, you're like, see, the softening shifts the energetic dynamic of the entanglement of the whatever's happening in the body.
Yeah.
And once that shifts, then there's a new vibration that shows up that you can move forward with.
And we can do that for our mind too.
Yeah.
If I go to a meeting and I feel like my mind is the busy one, then you can use the same exercise and say to yourself, I'm resting for my mind now. And just think about how one would operate differently going into a meeting from that rested space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even take it to the next step and say, I'm resting into the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm resting into the meeting now. Or if you're doing a presentation, I'm resting for my presentation now. And I don't start right when I walk in the meeting. I start when I'm creating for the meeting.
When I'm doing the preparation, when I'm putting it all together.
So you think that you want to be rested when you go make a presentation in front of a group of people, right? All of your preparation from point A to point B in your preparation is stressed. And then you think within 30 seconds of walking up in front of your presentation that you're going to engage it restful. And you think that the people are going to experience your presentation in a restful way, which to me, restful means available to hear, available to understand. And you think that we can accomplish that in this second. But what if you did it from here, from the beginning, and say, okay, I'm going into this presentation. I'm noticing that I'm a little stressed out about this. I'm noticing that I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm a little nervous. You notice those things and you say, I'm resting for my nervousness now. I'm resting into this presentation. See that big breath that just happened in your body? Yeah. That was space. That was expansion about the possibilities of having a new dynamic when you create a presentation.
Yeah.
So you watch this. So here's your how you prepare for this meeting. You get up to make the presentation, and then you try to get quiet. And this is how most people do it. And they try to get quiet, thinking that this energetic reverb is going to stop here when you get up in front of everybody. But what happens is the energetics have no choice but to keep rippling.
Yeah.
Because that's how energy works. Energy is in motion. So you ripple that energetic frustration potentially into the group, into the first hour, into the first 15 minutes. But what if you did it from an energetic piece and you're resting into all the details, and then right before the meeting you just go, I'm resting into this presentation now, and I'm wondering how wonderful and magnificent it can be. And all of a sudden you step up in front of people and you go, I'm here, I'm present. And you go, let's start. And they'll just go, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
So you created this wonderful space for people to be in. From here, not from
here.
Yeah. As a side note.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it really helps us get a visual in our head of what that would be like, operating in work, preparing for my meeting from a rested place. Yeah. Resting for my meeting as I put all of these slides together or whatever I'm doing from a rested place.
Right. And see, that the thing that you'll notice if you start resting is you can feel your energy get tense and tight. And then when you say, I'm resting into all these details now, and you feel that softening, shunk.
Yeah.
Then you've just softened this area of your body. You have more energy to do the details.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I heard you say what rested place is. Can you define for us what it means to rest?
Yeah. To me, the level that you're rested is the level to which you can be present. And the level that you're present is the level that you can be rested. So what happens is a rested state to me is when you start becoming more aware about what's happening in your body so that you're able to respond and make yourself available to the dynamics. So you start seeing more clearly, you start noticing your jaws. When it gets tight, you can go, oh, my jaw's getting tight. I'm resting from my jaw now. And you feel the softening. And the more you feel the softening, the more you're able to be present to. Sometimes, like if you rest for your jaw, all of a sudden you'll go, oh, I'm noticing that my stomach's tight.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm going to rest for my stomach now. So see, you just shifted 2 levels of presence within your own self. One, I'm present that my jaw's tight. Now you do that and you go, well, now my stomach's tight. So you rest for your stomach. So you just dropped 2 levels of presence. You weren't even aware that your stomach was bothering you. Right?
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, what else is here? Oh, my shoulders, yeah. One of my favorites is I'm resting from the whole body now.
Yeah.
I can feel this, And so the rested state to me is being aware of when I'm not rested and then choosing to realign myself with resting by just simply being aware and saying, yeah, I'm resting for this now. And I rest when I walk. I rest when my hips get tight. I call it active resting.
Yeah, I have been doing this practice for a while now. What I found was that when I got into a really rested state, that it was almost like there was a backlog of times where I was really tired and I did ignore. And then I opened myself up for a rested place, and it was almost like that backlog said, oh, yeah, yes, like now we can rest. We're coming forth. And I felt really exhausted. And I noticed that my mind wanted to say, well, why is it that I'm resting more and I'm feeling more tired? But thankfully, I just welcomed it and said, well, I'm resting and allowing whatever wants to come through to come through. And that's when I really realized that it was being in that space of opening up and allowing that I was able to see how long I had ignored what hadn't been rested, and then it felt like that part of me still really wanted the rest, still just wanted to process itself through rest. And then as I just stayed in that resting place for, this was several days or weeks of just feeling really tired and allowing it, that then the energy came back. And it was big time, really fun, good energy that came out of that rested place.
Yes, that's so beautiful awareness. It's exactly how I experience it.
Yeah.
Even days later, I'll notice that there's a place that happened to me. I got scared. I almost got in an accident. Somebody almost ran me off the road, and I'm not aware of it, and I keep driving, and I get home, and I can feel this edginess, and I go, oh my gosh, I'm still feeling the energy from that's stuck. And so to rest into that it's like goes. So I walk people back through resting for all kinds of stuff as kids and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
Relationships. There's so many ways to rest for things.
I use resting while I run, which is a powerful practice because, as you mentioned earlier, when my lungs open up, boy, it feels so cool when you're running and you're heading up a hill and it's feeling challenging. And then I say, well, I'm just going to rest into this hill rather than I'm going to fight this hill. And what happens is my lungs open. I take a really deep breath and I get more oxygen. And I rest my way running up that hill, and it changes the way that it feels to run in that way, even though it can be an active exercise that you're doing, whether or not it's actual exercise or working or whatever it is, you can rest into it.
Right.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It changes the physiology of the body.
Yeah.
It changes the energetic dynamics. And try this next time when you're going up that hill. Say I'm resting in the perfect alignment of my body, for my body now. Because what happens is we have a tendency to drive forward and we'll contract an area of our body, our shoulders or our legs, or to push ourselves through just like you're doing. And as you're saying, you're opening up and you're going, oh, my lungs are expanding, and it opens up the space. And I'll notice that when I'm running or walking up a steep hill or something, and I'll say, oh, I'm resting in the perfect alignment of my body, I can feel my body go just like this.
Wow.
Feel these subtle shifts in my body because my body just goes, it aligns in a way that's the most optimum way for our body to work. Now, our mind thinks, oh, I'm going to tell our body what to do. But our body knows way more than our mind.
Yeah.
To be with itself.
Yeah.
Our body's super smart.
Yeah, it really is. It's obvious that the benefits of rest are huge and widespread of how we can use rest in our lives. So if there is one thing that you want to tell people about rest for their lives, how they can use rest or use intentional resting, what is it that you would want to share?
I would say this. Every time a person is willing to pause and rest for themselves, they're engaging themselves in deep self-love. Because resting to me is the same as love. Because if you're not rested, you come home and you scream at the kids. If you're in a rested state, you're available, you're present to the kids. So even if you could imagine, rather than going into rest as trying to say, I'm going to love myself, so I'll go rest. It's different. It's rest because that's what comes out.
Yeah.
And so I would just invite people to be gentle on themselves, especially when you're playing with first discovering resting, because your mind's going to say, you should have had this figured out by now. You're smart, blah, blah, blah. That whole story. And to be patient with yourself, because it's how I experience it is like the layers, the rested layers show up. Like you mentioned before, how you rested for something, and then you noticed that this other part that happened prior wanted to be rested for. So layers of this contracted energy start softening and unwinding. And just really be gentle on yourself. Some of these patterns in our bodies that make our bodies sore have been around for 30, 40 years. Yeah. That's on your age. And so if you can start being more gentle and just appreciating anytime you get that pause and just go, oh, wow, cool. And then move on with your day. So that's what I would invite people to do, is be gentle on yourself, because it's, we're so taught how not to do that, force ourselves, push ourselves. And I think that what I ask people to do is just be more gentle on themselves, love themselves, smile at the mirror, do some resting in the mirror. Like that.
Thank you so much. I absolutely love that. And I invite everyone to take a look at Dan's website, intentionalresting.com, where he has a number of resources there, including a 30-day resting program. So if this is brand new to you, you can begin anywhere, even with the exercise that we did today or with any of his many resources that he has available. Dan, it's been so fun, and I absolutely loved this conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing this amazing information with all of us.
It's so my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Oh, you're so sweet, and really enjoyed our time together today. Thank you.
Great, thank you.